Chapter 3 Plant Kingdom from your NCERT Biology Exemplar book. We'll be discussing some MCQs given here. Starting with the first question, cyanobacteria are classified under. So, cyanobacterias, they are the true bacteria and they are classified under kingdom Monera. Okay, what else you should know about cyanobacteria is that they are also called as blue-green algae. They have chlorophyll A pigment present in them. They are photosynthetic autotrophs. Okay, and you see that these cyanobacteria, they form blooms in polluted water. Okay, and they are the one responsible for fixing atmospheric nitrogen in their specialized cells called heterocysts. Okay, heterocyst. So in these cells the atmospheric nitrogen is being fixed by them. An example of some of the nitrogen fixing bacteria are nostoc and anabina. Fine. Now moving on to the next question. In the next question it is asked, fusion of two gametes which are dissimilar in size is termed as oogamy, isogamy, anisogamy or zoogamy. So if you see, oogamy is the fusion between the gametes which are, one is motile, another one is non-motile. In this case you will see the female gamete is the one that is non-motile, okay, and is larger, whereas the male gamete, you will see that it is a motile one and is smaller. So that kind of fusion between the gamete is called oogamy. In isogamy, you will see that whether the gamete is flagellated or non-flagellated, but their sizes would be similar. So if the size is similar, okay, between the two gametes, fusing gametes, then we call that type of fusion as isogamy, and the reproduction type is called isogamous reproduction. Whereas anisogamy is the one in which the gametes which are fusing together, they are not similar, they are dissimilar, right? And in this question also they are asking you the fusion type in which the sizes of the gamete is dissimilar. So here the correct answer is anisogamy. Okay, so you need to remember, in isogamy the fusing gametes, their size would be similar, okay, whereas in anisogamy the size is not similar, they are dissimilar. Okay, and zoogamy is related to fusion of gametes in case of animals. Fine. Some of the examples where you see isogamy is example like in Chlamydomonas, okay, they have flagellated gametes, and another example where is of where the gametes are non-flagellated, you see in case of Spirogyra. Okay, so moving on to the next question, that is, holdfast, stipe and frond constitute the plant body in case of. First option given is Rhodophysia. Rhodophysia is a red algae. They have a red pigment called R-phycoerythrin which is present in them. Okay, and they have a thalli which is multicellular, and the storage organ where the starch, food in the form of starch is stored, is called floridian. Okay, in them they have, in Rhodophysia you will see the floridian is present, okay, that stores starch, and it's a red algae because of the presence of the pigment called R-phycoerythrin. Now Chlorophysia, what do they have? They are green color algae, okay, they are green color algae, and they have chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B pigment present in their chloroplast. Also they have a protein storage organ which we call as pyrenoids. Okay, so in Chlorophysia you will see pyrenoids are present. Now the next one, that is Pheophasia. Pheophasia is a brown algae depending upon the pigment phycoxanthine and fucoxanthine and xanthophyll and all present in them. So depending on that, the color is brownish, and or the similar color will be there. We call them as brown algae, And we see that these structures which are mentioned here, no, hold fast will help it to bind with the substratum, attached to the substratum, okay. And the stipe will help it, substratum, stipe is there in order, as a stalk it is present, okay. Stipe is present as stalk, whereas frond is a photosynthetic organ which is like a leaf. Fine. These three structures, holdfast, stipe and frond, we see in case of brown algae, that is Pheophasia. Fine. So here the correct answer is Pheophasia, because these three structures we see in only in case of brown algae, that is Pheophasia. Moving on to the next question, question number 4. It is given that a plant shows thallus level of organization. Okay, it shows rhizoids and is haploid. Okay, it needs water to complete its life cycle because the male gametes are motile. Identify the group to which it belongs. So where you see the water, presence of water is very important to complete the life cycle. So that happens in case of bryophytes. Bryophytes are called as amphibians of plant kingdom, right? Why we call them as amphibians of plant kingdom? Because these plants can live in soil, but they are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. Fine. And their main body part will be including what? Being thallus. Okay, would be including thallus, which will be attached to the substratum by the rhizoids. Okay, they do not have a true root, stem and leaf structure. They possess root like, stem like, leaf like structure. Okay, and they are haploid. Fine. And they produce the gametes that are haploid. Fine. So bryophytes will be the correct answer here because they have thallus present in them. Okay, and this is given in this question also, that they have thallus level of organization. This thallus is attached to the substratum with the help of rhizoids. Okay, they have rhizoids. Okay, and is haploid also. Okay, fine. You may also know that the male sex organ which will be produced by the gametophyte, okay, male sex organ is called antheridium, which will be biflagellated. Okay, biflagellated antherozoid will be produced by them, and the female sex organ is archegonium, that will have single egg cell. Okay, now moving on to the next question. A prothallus is a structure in pteridophytes formed before the thallus developed? No, it is not so. Okay, this cannot be the correct answer. A sporophytic free living structure. See, it is a free living structure. Prothallus is a free living structure, but it is not sporophytic, it is gametophytic. So again, this cannot be the correct answer. Secondly, in the first option here the word thallus is mentioned, but thallus we see in case of bryophytes, as I told you just now, that bryophytes have this thallus which are attached to the substratum with the help of rhizoids. Okay, so again the first option is also incorrect. This is also not correct. Moving on to the next two options, let us see what is given. Okay, a gametophyte free living structure formed in pteridophytes. So yes, here it is correct. It is a gametophyte structure. It is free living also, and it is formed in pteridophytes. Fine. So prothallus is a gametophyte free living structure. Though it is free living, it is very difficult to detect or to notice them, and that is the reason why we call that they are inconspicuous. Inconspicuous means not easy to identify or detect. They are very small. They are multicellular but very small, and they do photosynthesis also. They are photosynthetic, and it's a gametophytic stage. Okay, it's a gametophyte which will produce antheridia and archegonia. Means their male sex organ is called antheridia, female is called archegonia, which will further get involved in sexual reproduction. Okay, and the next last option it is given, it's a primitive structure formed after the fertilization in pteridophytes. No, anyways, it is not formed after the fertilization, it is formed before the fertilization. Okay, prothallus has those sexual organs that will help in fertilization, like antheridia and archegonia are present in prothallus, and later on the fertilization will take place. Okay, so anyways, this option is also wrong. So our correct answer is option C. Now moving on to the next question. It is given that the plant of this group are diploid and they are well adapted to extreme conditions. Okay, and they grow bearing sporophylls in compact structure called cones. Now here the main term is cones. Okay, and where you see cones, we see cones in case of gymnosperms. Though you have heard of the word cones or strobili in pteridophytes as well, but here just see what is given. They are able to survive in extreme condition, but this is not the case with pteridophytes. They cannot survive in extreme conditions. Okay, just a second. Pteridophytes will require damp, cool and shady places. Okay, if you see pteridophytes like ferns and all, they need damp, cool, shady places to grow. Water is also very essential for them to complete the fertilization. Okay, so they are restricted to a narrow geographical region and they are not able to survive in extreme condition of environment, right? So again, pteridophyte cannot be the answer. Monocots and dicots, they come under angiosperms. Again, there is nothing like cone-like structure we see. So answer will be gymnosperm, because in it is the gymnosperms in which we see these cones, or we also call these cones as strobili. Okay, cones are also called, another term is strobili. Okay, they, this is a salient feature of gymnosperm, fine, and they are well adapted to withstand the extreme environment condition like extreme of temperature, humidity, and wind. Okay, I can give you an example. Like in case of conifers, you will see needle-like leaves that will reduce the surface area, right? And they have a thick cuticle and sunken stomata that will help to reduce the water loss also. Fine. So that is the thing we see in case of gymnosperm, and their sporangia which are there on sporophylls, they are arranged spirally, okay, to form this type of cone or strobili, or we also call it as lax. Okay, and these strobili or cones can be a female or can be a male. Fine. If it is a male strobili, it will be consisting of microsporophyll. We call that as a microsporangia. If the cone is a female strobili, we call it as megasporophyll, which will be produced by megasporangia. Okay, so these things you should know. So here the correct answer for the sixth one is our option D. Okay, now moving on to the next question, that is question number 7. The embryo sac of an angiosperm, okay, is made up of, yes, so the embryo sac of an angiosperm, what it will have, what all things are included in this embryo sac? You will find one egg cell present in them, right? One egg cell will be there. Okay, after that there will be two synergids which will be present, fine, and there will be three antipodal cells, and there will be one secondary nucleus which is formed by fusion of two polar nuclei. Okay, so one secondary nucleus will be present. So if you see, these are the number of cells that are present, so it becomes 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, it comes to total 7. How many? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it comes to how many cells are there? In total there are 7 cells. Now let us see how many nuclei it will have. Now if you see, each one of the cell is going to have one nuclei, right? So egg cell will have one nuclei. Two synergids are there, so both of them are going to have one nuclei, so it becomes 2. Okay, one for egg cell, 2 cells of synergids are there, so 2 nuclei. 3 antipodal cells are there, 3 nuclei will be there, and this one secondary nucleus actually is made up of 2 polar nuclei which are fused together. So though it is one cell, but it has 2 nuclei present in them. So all together it becomes 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, it comes to 8 nuclei. Okay, so all together how many nuclei are present? 8 nuclei. So you see there it is a 7 cell 8 nuclei stage. Okay, so here the correct option will be 7 cells 8 nuclei, that is our option, this one, B. 7 cells and 8 nuclei. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. If the diploid number of a flowering plant is 36, what would be the chromosome number in its endosperm? Okay. Now, as you know, endosperm is, what is the ploidy level of endosperm? Endosperm ploidy is triploid. Okay. So, endosperm, if you see, it is triploid. How it is formed? How it gets this triploid stage? It is because of the fusion of the male gamete. One of the male gamete is going to fuse with the secondary nucleus, which is diploid. So it forms this triploid stage. Okay. Now in the question it is given that the diploid number, okay, that is 2n, is 36. So what will be the value for n? N will be 36 divided by 2. You get that as 18, right? Now as you know, what would be the chromosome number in the endosperm? Endosperm is triploid. So chromosome number in endosperm is going to be 3 times of n, which will be 3 into 18, and you will get that as 54. Okay, fine. So here our answer will be 54. One more thing I would like to mention here, that is about endosperm. Okay, that it is also called as primary endosperm nucleus. Okay, primary endosperm nucleus, it has triploid stage. Another thing is about double fertilization. You should know what is double fertilization, why it is called double fertilization. So actually what happens, that through the pollen tube, when the nucleus is the two male gamete is being discharged, so what happens, that one of the male gamete is going to fuse with the egg cell. Okay, so one of the male, there are two male gametes actually. Okay, so one of the male gamete goes and fuses with the egg cell, fine, and it will form a zygote. Now when it is forming a zygote, when the male gamete is fusing with the egg cell, it will form a zygote. We call this type of fusion as syngamy. Okay, this is what is happening here is syngamy. Another fusion take place, that is the another male gamete will go and will fuse with the secondary nucleus which has formed. Okay, and this will lead to formation of this primary endosperm nucleus. Getting it? So there are actually two male gametes. One of the male gamete goes and fuse with the egg cell nucleus. It forms a zygote. This fusion is called syngamy. Okay, and the other one that take place will lead to formation of primary endosperm nucleus. Okay, that is the another male gamete goes and fuses with the secondary nucleus, and now you see that there are two fusion taking place, right? And because there is involvement of two fusion during this whole event, okay, we call this as double fertilization. And double fertilization is something which is unique to angiosperms. Okay, it happens only in case of angiosperms. Fine. So this is something important you should know. Now moving on to the next question. Question number 9. Protonema is haploid and is found in mosses. Diploid as in and found in liverworts. Is it diploid and is found in pteridophytes, or haploid and is found in pteridophytes? So if you remember, in pteridophytes there are no structure called as protonema. We have studied about protonema in case of mosses, right? In case of mosses we see protonema there. So in pteridophyte it is not going to be. In mosses we have seen that there are two stages, and the first stage is called as protonema. The second stage of its life cycle is a leafy stage. Fine. And yes, the protonema is a haploid stage. Okay, so in Bryophyta, as you see, there are mosses and also liverworts are there. Fine. And what else you should know, that in liverworts, if it is reproducing asexually, it will have the structure called gamete. Okay, Gemmae. Okay, so gametes are present in liverworts. Protonema is one of the it is the first stage which is present in case of mosses. Fine. Gamete we see in case of liverworts. If they are reproducing by sexual reproduction, There the sporophytes are formed, fine, and which will differentiate their body into food, setae, and capsule. Okay, that will later on produce the spores by meiosis. Capsule will contain spores which are produced by meiosis. Okay, so protonema, you need to remember they are present in mosses. That is the first stage. Uh, and where do we find these mosses and liverworts? We mainly find them in hilly areas where there is moist and shade. Okay, the last question, that is on, okay, the giant redwood tree Sequoia sempervirens is an, so sequoia is one of the tallest tree, and we see that tree in case of gymnosperm. It is found, it is placed in gymnosperms. Okay, it's a gymnosperm. It is the one of the tallest tree. So this is something you should know. Okay, so with this we are done with these 10 MCQs, and maybe with the few more questions, important questions based on theory part, I will discuss in the next video. Thank you. Keep revising. Thank you very much.